Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Read Group Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So I know I'm a little bit late, but I caught the family reunion for Karen Hugler. Karen Hugler, for those of you who don't know, she is considered the grande dame of Real Housewives of Potomac. Yes, I love the series. I don't watch all of the Housewives shows, but I do tend to watch that particular one. Anyway, I've been wanting to watch the show before when they had announced that it was going to premiere, but I just didn't have the time. So luckily, I have it recorded. Anyway, let me just give you the premise of what this is all about, what the show is all about. Okay, in the family reunion show, they basically were talking about how they were going to pass down the family farm to the next generation. The way the farm was acquired was Karen's, I believe it was her great-grandmother or grandmother. No, it was her great-grandmother who got the home from being with the person who had enslaved her. She got pregnant by that person, and the deal was, I'm going to have 3 kids for you. I want 100 acres per kid. So that's how her family was able to secure that land. As it stands right now, that land is being operated by her aunt and her aunt's children. The aunt is about 65 years old, and the kids, you could see that they're in their 20s and early 30s. So their issue is succession, which is definitely understandable. We are still in the midst of COVID. Well, not so much in the midst, because many vaccinations have been issued out already, and a number of people have gotten their vaccine. So we're probably more or less on the tail end of it. However, because of this, it heightens a lot of people's sensibility when it comes to death, because you never know when somebody's going to go. And then being that owning a 300-acre farm is such a large responsibility, they really want to be prepared for when things get passed down to them, which I think is an absolutely beautiful thing, because a lot of times families will pass down land, will pass down homes, but won't give the next generation any instruction. And when you don't give them any instruction, what happens is a lot of times they'll end up losing that land, right? However, for some reason, the aunt, from my understanding, when they try to approach her with it, she doesn't want to talk about it. And herein lies the issue. They did have one or two conversations with her before. However, for whatever reason, they couldn't come to an agreement. So they have Karen, who's closer in age, come to speak to the aunt on their behalf. So I wanted to replay it again, the whole show again, but unfortunately, the timing in which it actually kept the recording has expired. So I couldn't go back and look at it like I wanted to, because it really is good. And it really brought up a lot of issues and questions that I even didn't think of at the time, in which I was watching the show, because I mainly invest in physical property, in houses, not in land, even though that is my next step. That is an area that I do want to get into. So as you have it, the kids were thinking about turning the property into a vineyard, because right now they're farming the land. They're selling, I believe, soybeans, peanuts, I think corn and potato. However, the amount of, even though they produce a lot and they sell a lot, they're not really making any profit. Farming, unfortunately, they don't make a whole lot of money here in the United States of America. They really, I don't recall them speaking about any grants or anything to that effect. So I'm not sure if the family is employing that or not, because that could make a difference. Anyway, moving forward, as mentioned, the young people were thinking about, one of the things they were thinking about doing was converting the land into a winery. The aunt was against it because they do have a winery on a certain portion of the property, and she says that it is not doing well. It is not making a profit. The other thing that was thrown out was to make the land recreational. I'm not sure what her feelings were about that. So that was an issue. Then the other issue was who was going to actually get the land. Because in a way it belongs to the family, but in a way it doesn't. Meaning it belongs to certain members of the family, but it doesn't really belong to the whole family, because the whole family is not involved with actually doing the farming. Karen, for example, she doesn't plant any seeds, she doesn't toil the soil, etc., etc. Right? But it does seem as though her family does share whatever crops they may produce with her. And her name may still be on it, but she's not, let's say, the top name on it. She's probably down more at the bottom. So her rights and her portion may not be as high as her aunt, who is the one who's actually plowing the land, tilling the land, killing animals that try to trespass on the land, etc., etc. So here it is. The thing with the vineyards, a lot of people, I've been looking online, it's not too much reviews on it, but all of the reviews were positive. They were saying, well, a vineyard is a good idea. Here's the thing. Just because an idea sounds good and just because it's profitable in one area, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be profitable in another area. The aunt distinctly said that they have part of the land as a vineyard and it's not profitable. The show did not go into details as to why it's not profitable. Could it be the location? They are located in Virginia. Virginia is known to have good wine. However, Virginia, one may look at it and say, well, they may be oversaturated with too many wineries or too many vineyards, right? That's one aspect. The other aspect is maybe the way that part of the land, the way that it's managed, is probably not done properly. Or there probably needs to be made some improvements as far as the management is concerned, right? And then another thing that came across to me is that maybe at this point in time, vineyards are just not profitable. You know, maybe also that they are just limiting that land to just selling wine and that's it. And maybe they need to expand and implement other things such as wine tasting, such as tours, going through that part of the land to show people how wine is made, to let people make their own wine possibly. Maybe that's not being done, and maybe that's what needs to be done in order to be more profitable in the vineyard section. It did not go into detail, so I'm not sure. But those are some of the things that you need to look at. You can't just say, oh, it would be a good idea to have this. No, before you throw an idea out like that for business, oh, well, I mean, you can do it initially, but you need to do a little bit more thorough research before you say, oh, we should do this. Especially if it's already been done and it's not profitable, right? So that was the issue that I take with some of the reviewers who said, yes, they should go into it. After the aunt said, it has not been profitable for them. Okay. Now, the next thing that was mentioned was tours. I got distracted in the show, and I had to leave the TV. I should have stopped the tape so that I could go back and replay it, but unfortunately I did not. So anyway, here's the deal. Tours on the land could be profitable, but again, a lot of things boil down to management. How is it going to be managed? What is something that has been, thoroughly evaluated? And not just management, also marketing. Because if you're going to have tours come in, you have to market that your land is in this particular location. And the location where this farm is in a very small town where everybody knows one another. And I have a feeling that tourism is not a big attraction. That's not where the whole town even probably doesn't even consider tourism at all. So trying to get that up and running, that can be a challenge. Not to say that that challenge won't be overcome, but challenges cost money. All right. So for those of you who may find yourself in a similar situation as Karen and Karen's family, when you are going to use land, one of the best things to do is to get a forester, first of all, because they can advise you on what is best to do with your land, what can and cannot be done. Second, you want to look into grants. There are a lot of grants that are offered right now. The other thing is you want to consider getting yourself a government contract, because the government is issuing a lot of contracts right now to a huge amount of people. You want to also contact the Department of Agriculture and get as much information, government subsidies, etc. from there. Another thing that you may want to consider, you may want to look into when you have that amount of land, tiny homes. You can buy a tiny home for $50,000, put it on the property. You may have to check with the zoning board before you do so, but that might be another way in which you can generate income, especially if you are considering making it a tourism spot. This way, you have guests that can actually stay overnight on that particular land. Okay, so guys, I'm pretty sure some of the other networks that are out there, like Peacock and what have you, they'll probably eventually pick up the show. If they do, I encourage you to watch. Not only is it educational, but it's very entertaining. There's a lot of laughs. There's a lot of fun being had there. And so, to be honest, some of the fun activities that I saw them do in the show when it came to just the family reunion part of it, they could actually use that as part of the tours, if you will. But anyway, I encourage you guys to watch the show. I'm not sure if it's going to be a series. Like, I'm not sure if it's going to like come back in the fall and they're going to follow up or what have you. I'm not sure what Bravo is going to do with that. It would be nice if they would bring it back, because even though, yes, I got distracted and I had to step away from the TV for a while, I believe that there was some more information. There's some more follow-up that would be good for all of us to see, as far as how they plan on passing down that land over to their kids. All right. And by the way, I'm actually writing another book regarding making the property that you have into a legacy property. Now, that book is going to focus mainly on homes, not on land. But seeing this show, it actually made me think, well, you know what? Maybe I should think about what to do. Because after all, my grandparents did leave land for all of us. Again, it was in another country. And, you know, our names are not necessarily written down as far as, you know, how much land we're supposed to get, etc., etc. I gave up trying to do anything about it or trying to like force my quote unquote rights to it, because number one, I live in another country. Number two, I've never tilled or plowed or anything on their land. So being that I have family that still lives out there, I said, well, since they still live out there and they've worked on the land, then whatever was supposed to be my portion, I just gave up and let them have it. That was just in my mind at that particular time. I really wasn't ready, and I still don't feel 100% ready to tackle something like that. However, I am definitely a lot more prepared now. I am actually taking Land and Ladies. I'm taking their course. That's why I don't want to go too deep into it, because I don't want to give all of the lessons that I've learned. And the course is not really that expensive anyway. I do recommend it. They do have a Facebook page as well, so you may want to go ahead and follow it. And you don't have to be a lady in order to take the course. You don't have to be a lady to join Land and Ladies Facebook group page. It's just the name, okay? So guys, I hope the information that I shared with you will help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this along. Remember, each one reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.